One rainy afternoon, an old lady walked into a great department store in Pittsburgh and wandered about in an aimless way, like one who had no intention of buying. Most of the salespeople gave her the once-over, then turned their backs, busying themselves with shelves so they would not be troubled. But one young man stepped forward and asked, with quiet courtesy, if he might serve her. She told him plainly she was only waiting for the rain to stop, and that she wished to make no purchases at all. He did not retreat. He simply made her feel welcome. He engaged her in conversation, not to extract a sale, but to give respect where respect was due. When she was ready to go, he walked with her to the street and raised her umbrella for her, as though she were his own mother. Then he returned to his work, expecting nothing. Months passed, and the incident fell out of his mind, as good deeds often do. Then one day he was called into the office and shown a letter from a lady who wanted a salesman sent to Scotland to take an order for the furnishings of a mansion, an order of enormous size. The lady specified one condition. She wanted that particular young man, no other. The one who had treated her like a person when she looked like no opportunity. The one who had served her when serving seemed useless. And in that moment, his life swung on a hidden hinge. Now I will tell you who that old lady was, because the name carries a thunderclap of meaning. She was Andrew Carnegie's mother. Hold that picture in your mind, because it contains the secret most men search for in loud places, while it lies waiting in quiet ones. Opportunity does not always come as a contract, a handshake, or a golden door. Often it comes as a nobody in the rain. And here is the cruel truth. The majority of men spend their lives looking for the big break, while they step over the small break that leads to it. They want a miracle, but they neglect the moment that proves what sort of man they are when no one is applauding. I learned that lesson the hard way, slowly, stubbornly, and with the costliest tuition a man can pay. Time. The world speaks of years as though they were coins, but years are not coins. You cannot earn them back. You can only invest them or waste them. Nearly 20 years ago, when I interviewed Mr. Carnegie, I asked him to what he attributed his success. He twinkled and asked me to define success, then told me the power behind his fortune was not one mind, but many minds organized in harmony to a definite end. I heard every word, and yet I did not truly grasp it. The seed was planted that day, but it did not take root until later. After years of contact with the world, after seeing men fail with talent and succeed with less talent simply because they obeyed law instead of impulse. That is why I say it took me a lifetime of observation to learn what sounds, at first hearing, almost too ordinary to be power. The secret to win in life is not hidden in mystery. It is hidden in the commonplaces men refuse to respect until regret teaches them. A man can read a principle and nod wisely, yet remain unchanged. But when he sees the price of neglect, when he counts his wasted years, his broken promises, his opportunities turned away, then the same principle burns like fire and becomes a command. You do not lose life in one great disaster. You lose it in small surrenders. In the word, you did not speak when courage was needed. In the service you withheld because no one required it. In the discipline you delayed because tomorrow felt safer than now. If you want a better life, do not ask first for a better world. Ask for a better policy within yourself. Decide what you will stand for. Decide what you will no longer tolerate. Decide what you will do, whether the crowd notices or not. Decision is the beginning of dominion. Notice the law in that rainy day story. The young man did not get lucky. He aligned himself with a higher standard of conduct before any reward appeared. He made himself valuable when there was no visible profit. That is how life selects its favored men. Most people measure effort by wages. They do what they are paid to do and then wonder why they are paid only for what they do. But the man who wins understands a law the drifter never learns. Life pays an advancement to the man who renders more service than he is paid for. And the opposite is just as true, and it should frighten you. Life punishes the man who withholds his best. It makes him ordinary. It makes him invisible. It makes him complain about lack of opportunity, while he turns away the finest chances every hour of the day. This is why time becomes a weapon against most men. 1 year of neglect becomes 5 years of habit. 5 become 10. Then one morning the mirror shows a face that has grown older, and the heart asks a terrifying question. How did I get here so fast? Do not wait for pain to educate you. Do not wait until you are forced to make an account of what slipped through your fingers. I have made such an account, and I can tell you plainly, a man can let fortunes pass through him without dissipation, without vice, simply through heedlessness. The secret I am leading you toward is this. Winning is not an event. It is a habit of being. It is the habit of self-command, the habit of thoughtful service, the habit of seeing opportunity where other men see inconvenience, the habit of carrying a definite purpose into common duties. In this speech, I will show you what I wish I had obeyed sooner, before time had taken its toll, so you do not spend 25 years learning what can be learned now. I will not give you the whole formula in a sentence, because the careless will mock it. But I will walk you into it, as a man is walked into truth, through story, through law, through the mirror of your own experience, until you cannot escape the conclusion. And when you see it clearly, you will understand why so many men work hard and still do not win. Listen as though the next 25 years are sitting beside you, waiting to see what you will decide today, because they are. Part 1, the law of hidden seeds, the power you plant when no one watches. Every great reward I have ever witnessed in life was born in silence. The unseen effort always precedes visible success. The true secret of winning is obedience to invisible law, rendering more service than you are paid for, cultivating habits when no one applauds, planting seeds of character that bloom only after long patience. The story of the young clerk who treated Carnegie's mother kindly was not a tale of luck. It was the working of law. The man acted by principle, not calculation. He performed service when service seemed useless. That moment of quiet courtesy set in motion an invisible partnership with destiny. Service always precedes reward, just as planting always precedes harvest. Men love to speak of luck because luck relieves them of responsibility. But I tell you plainly, luck is the name the lazy give to cause and effect. The man who serves when others stop, the man who does his duty without supervision, the man who improves himself when no one notices, he is never unlucky. He is simply aligning himself with the law of increase. The richest rewards in life are never attached to the actions that announce themselves. They grow from the small, repeated acts others consider too trivial to matter. The greatest fortunes have been built upon the smallest courtesies. One act of thoughtfulness can lift a man from obscurity because it reveals who he is when he believes no one is watching. I call this the law of hidden seeds. The world pays delayed interest, not instant reward. Every time you give your best without promise of recognition, you are planting invisible capital that will yield interest in due season. The man who serves without witness becomes indispensable. The man who serves only when observed remains ordinary. There are two kinds of men in the world, the drifter and the definer. The drifter does only what is required and complains that opportunity never visits. The definer lives by principle rather than reaction. He exceeds expectation not for applause, but for self-respect. One lives under impulse, the other under law. Henry Ford was called a fool by those who laughed at his first engines. He worked in silence while others ridiculed. His invisible hours became his visible empire. The man who obeys law when mocked will one day be obeyed by those who mocked him. The world eventually serves the man who first served it in faith. This law applies everywhere. The teacher who prepares beyond requirement, the craftsman who perfects his work unseen, the father who keeps promises when no one checks, all are moved by the same divine order. Each small fidelity is a seed in the soil of eternity. The world never forgets a consistent giver, though it may ignore him for a time. Most men want payment before performance. They bargain with life like merchants at a market, saying, "Pay me first, and I will serve later." But life is not a market. It is a field. It pays only to those who plant in faith. Life pays for consistency before it pays for production. A man who performs above contract attracts rewards above expectation. I once knew a coal miner who spent nights studying by lamplight after his shift. He was mocked for reading beyond his station. Years later, he became foreman, then owner. His invisible preparation had been seen long before reward appeared. He had cultivated law in silence, and silence had multiplied his reward. This law is moral and spiritual. What you do unseen determines what you receive in public. A man who cannot serve without witness cannot command with honor. The law knows the difference between show and sincerity. When you obey it long enough, your name will carry quiet power that cannot be counterfeited. Repeat these words each morning. I plant my efforts in faith. I do more than I am paid to do. My labor is my proof, my patience, my investment, and my results the harvest that cannot fail. These are not mere sentences. They are commands to your subconscious, which grows whatever is planted in it repeatedly. Repetition builds permanence. Every act repeated under discipline becomes law within you. Each time you obey principle, you strengthen its hold. In time, the act becomes instinct, and instinct becomes destiny. The man who trains himself to serve unselfishly no longer forces himself to do so. It becomes his nature. Those who live this way begin to radiate steadiness. Others trust them instinctively. Employers, partners, and friends sense reliability before evidence appears. Character emits its own light, though the man himself may not notice it. This is the magnetism of integrity, felt before understood, respected before explained. Faith without service is only hope. Faith expressed through labor becomes magnetism. I have seen men of faith pray for opportunity while refusing to prepare for it, but I have never seen a prepared man denied. The world bends toward competence backed by belief. Thomas Edison proved this law through endless experiments. 10,000 failures did not discourage him because he knew the harvest law. Every effort produces something, even if that something is experience. He obeyed the invisible order until light itself obeyed him. The secret, then, is not to seek opportunity, but to become opportunity. Serve beyond your station, and you will rise beyond it. Life always advances the man who advances himself first. When your reward comes, the world will call it sudden. You will know it was the flowering of hidden seeds long planted in silence. And so I tell you, decide your conduct before reward, not after. What you are when unseen is what you will soon be known for publicly. Greatness is only character matured by time. Part 2. The law of definite direction, the mind that commands circumstance. Once a man has learned to serve beyond himself, he must next learn to direct himself. Power scattered achieves nothing. Power concentrated builds empires. Purpose is not a wish. It is a command given to thought. It is the law that transforms drift into destiny. Most men labor hard yet accomplish little because they work without a definite aim. They mistake movement for progress. I have met men who were forever busy, yet years later stood in the same place. Their energy was real, but it had no direction, like a wheel spinning furiously in mud. A horse running in circles grows tired but never advances. So too the man who has no fixed aim. Effort without direction is the most common form of failure. It wears men out without ever building them up. The tragedy of talented drifters is that they live by chance. They wait for opportunity instead of creating it. They start projects but abandon them when obstacles appear. They change plans before plans mature. They think they need more talent, but what they need is one decision carried to its end. Dr. Frank Gonzalez discovered this truth when he decided to raise $1 million for a college. He did not wait for a donor. He declared it from the pulpit as a certainty. That decision turned belief into action. Within days, a man stepped forward to supply the funds. Life always aids the man who knows precisely what he wants and states it with conviction. I call this the law of definite direction. Thought fixed upon a clear end organizes all unseen forces in its favor. The subconscious, the environment, even strangers begin to move as though guided toward the same outcome. Definiteness turns chaos into order and wish into command. Andrew Carnegie built his empire through this same law. His purpose was not vague accumulation, but organized creation. He united men of ability around a single aim. Every plan, every action, every partnership served that aim. Where others saw confusion, he saw command. Indecision is the thief of life. Each delayed choice becomes habit. The man who hesitates trains his will to disobey. Every firm decision cuts a road through the jungle of uncertainty. Every hesitation lets the jungle grow thicker. Decision is mental self-government, the training of thought to obey its ruler. I once knew a clerk who resolved to never leave a decision unanswered. When asked for direction, he would decide immediately, then refine the path as he advanced. Within years, he rose to executive rank. Men trusted him because he trusted himself. The world always follows decisiveness. Autosuggestion is not fantasy, it is daily self-command. When you repeat, "I am this, I will do this," you legislate thought, you build internal law. A man who issues clear orders to his mind will find his mind obeying him. One who issues none lives at the mercy of impulse. Beware of thought without command. A mind that changes aim each week becomes like a compass spinning madly. It cannot guide the vessel. The world never trusts instability. Consistency, not brilliance, builds credibility. Henry Ford displayed this in his determination to produce a car for the common man. The world mocked him. Investors withdrew. Critics laughed. Yet his definite direction turned resistance into refinement. Every obstacle clarified his aim. The road that began in ridicule ended in revolution. Repeat these words until they carve faith into your being. I know what I want. I decide it daily. My mind obeys my command. Every action, every thought moves toward one purpose. Decision repeated becomes identity. Identity repeated becomes fate. A decisive man becomes magnetic. People sense clarity and gather around him. They may not agree with him, but they trust his certainty. The uncertain repel cooperation. The certain attract it. Leadership begins with definiteness of thought. Decision requires courage more than intellect. The man who delays decisions for fear of loss loses both time and confidence. The winner decides swiftly, adjusts intelligently, and persists until results appear. Life punishes hesitation by eroding faith. The law of definite direction does not remove detours. It prevents drifting. Even when circumstances change, a man with purpose adjusts course rather than surrendering. He knows storms are temporary, but the compass within him is permanent. Faith, therefore, is not belief without proof. It is obedience without hesitation. To act as though success were already decreed is faith in its highest form. The man of faith and direction walks calmly where others panic, for he has already chosen his outcome. Abraham Lincoln lived by one definite aim, to preserve the Union. Every policy, every letter, every act flowed from that single decision. Because of that, history remembers him not for his position, but for his principle. Purpose dignified him beyond politics. Repetition of purpose ingrains it in the subconscious. The mind begins to operate as though the aim were already achieved. What you rehearse faithfully, life performs eventually. This is not mystery. It is mechanics of the spirit. Once purpose becomes law within, fear diminishes. The man ceases to rush. He is patient, for he knows where he is going. The wanderer worries about time. The purposeful man measures time by progress, not by the clock. And so I tell you, the second stage of mastery is to fix your mind upon one great aim and obey it as though it were divine instruction. Direction transforms effort into achievement, and time into treasure. A mind trained to command itself commands circumstance. Part 3. The law of inner expansion. The habit that builds the man who cannot fail. Success is not an event, it is growth. A man does not arrive, he expands. The power to win is not found in sudden triumph, but in the slow, invisible enlargement of the mind and spirit. Every act of persistence, every repetition of discipline stretches capacity. True victory is not conquest of circumstance, it is mastery of self. I learned this truth through long years of error. 25 years passed before I understood that knowledge alone does not transform. I had gathered principles, spoken them, even taught them, but I had not yet lived them daily. Knowledge is a seed, habit is the soil. Without practice, truth remains theory, and theory feeds no man. Many men decide boldly but persist weakly. They make great resolutions in the heat of inspiration, but retreat at the first wind of difficulty. They mistake the excitement of a decision for the discipline of execution. Yet life, like nature, tests every decision through time. It asks, will you obey the law long enough for the harvest to appear? Persistence is not punishment, it is proof. It shows the universe you mean what you declare. Each day you repeat your purpose. You deepen its root within the subconscious until it becomes the governing law of your being. The mountain does not move at the first command. It yields slowly to the man who refuses to retreat. I call this the law of inner expansion. Every small effort, faithfully multiplied, builds unseen strength. A blacksmith's hammer seems weak in a single blow, yet the sum of blows shapes steel. So too the disciplined mind shapes destiny. Each repetition of principle increases your spiritual muscle until success becomes reflex. I once met a writer who had been rejected by every publisher. For years he lived in humiliation. One day he decided to treat rejection as rehearsal. Each no became his teacher. When at last his book found print, the world called it overnight success. But I saw the truth. 15 years of invisible preparation had made him inevitable. That is the law of accumulation. Every repetition adds unseen momentum. The day of breakthrough seems sudden only to those who never counted the blows. To the man who persisted, it is simply the day of rightful harvest. All success is cumulative. The only question is whether you are still sowing when others have stopped. Edison understood this. He said he had not failed 10,000 times, but had found 10,000 ways that would not work. Each experiment trained his imagination to think more precisely. Failure, to him, was education. The man who treats adversity as tuition never pays twice for the same lesson. Do not pray for lighter burdens, pray for stronger shoulders. Life will not reduce its weight to suit your weakness. It will increase your strength to match its demand. The size of your success will always equal the size of yourself that carries it. That is why the disciplined man grows larger than his difficulties, while the weak man shrinks beneath them. Repeat this affirmation until it takes residence in your spirit. Every day I expand. Every difficulty strengthens me. My habits build the man who cannot fail. I am becoming what I decide, through persistence made perfect. This is not a phrase of comfort. It is a command to the inner builder who waits for instruction. Each repetition trains the will to act automatically in harmony with success. Habit is stronger than will. Will opens the door, but habit keeps it open. The man who creates right habits performs right